straight in the face and they're all on one side.
Yeah.
Rather than all.
Yeah. Oh, you don't like the. Oh, yeah.
Since it's only me, I like everybody to be able to see the same show.
Oh, yeah. I like this because it's very like.
Are you planning to come in from the rain or step out for a second soaking?
I mean, yes, sir, of course. Thank you.
Yes?
I don't want to... I mean, your floor, I don't want to get it all wet.
And yet here you are, at my door, on my floor, middle of nowhere, million miles from the nearest neighbor. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. Doesn't mean you should examine yours while standing soaking wet in my doorway. Here, put this on. I cannot have people wandering around my home, dripping on the furniture, warping my floors. They're long past warranty. Besides, as you are no doubt aware from the multiple signs out front in the quarter-mile driveway, I'm not a big fan of company.
Well, thank you. So, you are him...
Hold on.
I'm sorry to have to come on a night like this, but I was only nearby for... I didn't know when I'd be back, and I know that you don't see anyone. Everybody
Here,
knows
young
that...
lady, nice and warm and fresh from the dryer. This should keep you from dripping all over the Caribbean rosewood.
Thank you.
You know, contrary to the inaccurate cliche of the domesticated turkey who stands staring up at the precipitation, fascinated until he drowns, most creatures have the good sense to come in from the rain.
Oh, I know, but I had to...
You know that's a myth, right?
What?
The turkey anecdote.
Yeah?
To begin with, turkeys do not have binocular vision. Their eyes are set on either side of the head, giving them a greater field of vision and enabling them to more effectively spot potential predators. The notion that a turkey, trying to see something above its line of sight, would tilt its head backwards is an anthropomorphization. Turkeys have sideways vision, unlike owls, whose eyes are set in the front of the head, being birds of prey.
You're Patrick Perrin, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And you are?
I'm Harper Winesaft, and I'm a writer. I mean, I want to be. Right now I'm just studying writing in school, and you're my favorite writer.
Go on.
I remember the first time I saw a copy of Noonies on the shelf in the bookstore.
The bookstore, that endangered species.
It was the edition with the blade on the cover. The title was in red type across the top.
I remember that cover. I never liked it.
I took it home that night and read it cover to cover. My mother poked her head in 5 times and told me to go to sleep, but I just couldn't put it down. I had to find out what happened to Elizabeth and Ben.
It did seem to touch a chord with people. Sadly, my accountant couldn't find a way to write off chord touching on my tax returns.
I think I fell asleep in math the next day. I was just so tired because I hadn't slept.
You'd think after a lifetime of people kissing my behind, such an exclamation from a young girl would have no effect. You'd be wrong.
I read it like 3 times that first week, over and over. I gave copies of it to everybody I knew. Oh, man. Will you listen to me go on and on like a crazy person? Look, I'm sorry. This isn't how I expected this to go at all.
How about I get you some tea?
Oh, I don't want to be in any trouble.
No, you've already baptized the furniture and interrupted my nightly marathon of computer solitaire. I am determined to win every game of Free Cell. But for the last 4 days, I've been stuck on game 3742, so I might as well serve you some tea. I may not like company, but I still have my manners.
Well, okay.
And the hot water heater right by the sink. Takes me all of 5 seconds to have a cup of boiling water. Mind you, all I can offer you is tea, as in tea. No blueberry blend or echinacea or honey golden seal or any of that, just tea.
That's fine. I'm in Patrick Perrin's house. I'm in Patrick Perrin's house. No, this desk is where he wrote Noonies. He wrote it sitting right here. Oh God, if Andrea knew where I was, she'd never believe it. I won the bet. I met him. I found him. The smell of old books. Best perfume in the world.
The desk. The desk was a gift I got myself just before I started writing Noonies. I found it in an old junkyard. Weighs a ton. Not literally, of course. I've never actually figured the item's mass, but you get the idea. Real wood, none of that pressed garbage so common at the mall. It is my time machine.
Oh, in what way?
Well, look over here along the top. You see a long white scratch. That's Tessio, the Siamese cat. Living, breathing works of art, very comforting creatures. They stick close to their favorite human, like Velcro. But one day, Tessio decides he's going to jump from the floor to the desk and doesn't make it, leaving me that souvenir of the effort. As I recall, it's the most constructive thing either of us got done that day. Over here, you see the remnants of a long string of numbers. I could never remember my damn account number at the supermarket when I call out for delivery, so I wrote it down on a piece of paper, not realizing that the permanent marker I was using would bleed through and leave a permanent mark. And you see that chip there? Well, when I got my first check for Noonies, I had a celebration with a 6-pack that my editor sent over. I tripped and smashed a bottle of cheap domestic beer, very cheap beer, against the desk. The rug smelled like something out of a Hemingway novel for about a month. I finally threw it away. The rug, not the Hemingway.
Well, that's a lot of memories for a piece of furniture. My grandfather has fewer stories and he's 94.
Young lady, as you grow older, you'll learn that some furniture stays with you longer than family. And it collects memories, the way rugs collect dust bunnies or Elizabeth Taylor collected husbands. If I were to graph the actual weight of this desk across time, with an axis for wood and an axis for memories, I suspect they would have crossed 10 years ago, probably being held together with those memories and duct tape. That's good tea. Are you quite dry enough? Finish our drink, let's get you on your way.
Oh, but I have an asked
You recall the numerous signs out front and the long driveway, the ones indicating my lack of interest in any visitors?
Yes.
They're not merely there for show. Indeed, had security technology advanced to the point where lasers were qualified home eye option.
I know, but I just wanted to ask you a
There used to be a sign out front saying uninvited visitors would be sold into slavery. I don't recall where it is. Probably overgrown with vegetation like the rest of the grounds. Nevertheless...
Can't I just have 5 minutes? I drove hundreds of miles. You could teach me so much, just one question.
Very well. 5 minutes, one question. Finish your tea and then you're on your way. Now then, ask what it is you came to ask. Same question everyone's asked me for the past decades. I will give you the same answer I've given them, only you will have the unique opportunity to hear the answer in person before you go.
Well, okay then. Why?
As questions go, it's a bit open-ended.
You know what I'm going to ask because it's the same question that everybody has been asking you for the past 30 years. I'm asking for myself and for my sister and for everybody else who wants to know. Why have you stopped writing? Why have you been in seclusion? What happened? You wrote... You wrote this. Noonies. Pulitzer Prize for fiction. More awards than I can count. I mean, people talked about nominating you for the Nobel Prize.
Utter claptrap! I was never so glad in my life not to win something. It would be like giving Sting the Grammy Award for Best Jazz Performance.
But that book touched lives. It influenced an entire generation of writers. I mean, you used language in there as if it were pure energy controlled. The beauty in not only the words, but the silence as well. I mean, the way you wove a story out of events that any other writer would make it seem disconnected. It just seems so effortless, like you wrote it in a day.
You're not far off.
What?
Actually, it was more like a weekend. The whole thing flowed out of me in one long spurt. I saw it in one fell swoop, the whole story at once. This is not secret knowledge. Back in the day, I told this story more than once.
But the ease that infuses it, it just encourages writing. I mean, I didn't know it then that night, but my fate was sealed. I had to become a writer.
And are you?
What, a writer? I'm trying to be.
My dear, you are either a writer or you're not. You may not be a good writer. You may not be a published writer yet, but writing is not a job. It's a state of being, like being Zen or Jewish.
Well, I have written some short stories, and I have part of a novel done, but it's not finished.
I shall offer you some free advice. Art is never finished, only abandoned.
Well, yes, but you changed the subject.
Did I?
Yes, you did. You changed the subject and didn't answer my question.
Yes. Whoa, look at the time. 5 minutes are up. Time for you to walk back to your car, drive back to your undoubtedly comfy dorm room, fire up Word Perfect, and type up a story about how you met Patrick Perrin, the famous writer, and he failed to satisfy your curiosity in spite of the fact that it's the same question everyone's been asking for the past 30 years.
No, you still haven't answered. Why have you stopped writing?
No, I have not answered your question, and I see no reason I should. Do you know how many of my alleged fans have tried to call or contact me?
No.
Obsequious, overbearing simpletons who think just because they spent 4 years drinking beer at Hofstra, they should call themselves journalists, or worse, writers. Come, young author, it's time for you to go.
No, I can't.
Yes, you can. It just calls for a series of repeated muscular movement towards the door. I'm sure you can accomplish it.
No, I mean, I can't go anywhere.
Why not?
Because my car's dead, and I'm almost out of gas, and it doesn't make sense, and I miss my sister, and God damn it, it's my birthday, and I don't want to...
It's your birthday?
Yes, today.
And you're how old?
I'm 26.
Curious, that. Very. The exact day. An interesting coincidence.
What?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Are you sure?
Ask it again before I change my mind.
Why have you stopped writing?
I have nothing left to write about.
What?
I don't think the concept is that difficult.
You just, not a minute ago, you said that you're either a writer or you're not, and well, you are. That's obvious. How do you go 30 years without writing anything? I mean, after that.
Don't say I haven't written anything. I just haven't published.
I mean, I know that I've just started, but when I get an idea, it's like I can't not write. I have to get it all down. I take out pen and paper. Wait a minute.
Have you anything to show me?
What?
Come, young writer, you've traipsed through the pouring monsoon to find me. Did you bring me anything of yours to read?
Well, that would have been prudent and intelligent, would it not?
So no.
I was afraid that even if I did find the cabin and find you here, that you'd be...
Oh, no. Allow me. Patrick Perrin is an ogre. A tyrant. A disillusioned drug addict. Instead of the man who doesn't like taking an aspirin. You see? I collect the theories. Patrick Perrin is actually a woman. An artificial intelligence. The pen name of an incontinent Polish plagiarist. Or long since passed on.
Well, I had heard that one. I mean, especially since nobody's taken a picture of you in years.
Yes, I'm rather like Paul McCartney. Always facing the wrong direction or rumored to be dead.
But you're not any of those things.
No, I'm not. I just like my solitude. I know it's unusual in this time when we're all supposed to be in constant contact with each other through emails and cell phones and tablets, Twitters and tweets. I had a cell phone once. I'm not a Luddite.
Oh, one of those brick things?
No, not one of those brick. Never mind! Not bad, Miss Harper. Point for the upstart. Cell phones, one of the three great evils of the 20th century, along with fascism and twice-baked potatoes. No, I just had to get away from all the noise. Discovered I liked it quiet. No cell phones, no emails. Of course, my editor hated it, but after a while she grew to understand. And when she realized I wasn't going to send her anything new, she hasn't called me in years. My editor grew to understand. Why can't you?
Because I wanted to know.
Wanted to know what?
I don't have to tell you.
Yes, you do. This is my home, my desk, my tea, my robe.
It's none of your business.
Why do you need to know?
Because she's gone! She's gone. My sister, she died 6 days ago, and I needed to know why you stopped writing, because I don't know why. Just because. And I know just because is one of those answers that stubborn little 4-year-olds give, but it's my answer at this moment. I loved her more than anyone, and now she's gone, and nobody can answer the hard questions, and I don't know, I thought maybe you could. Your book, you talk about how we connect to each other, and it's crazy, I suppose, but it's all that I've got. I need to connect to someone, to some idea. I need to find a way to fill this enormous pit in my life that's just sitting there like some black hole.
All right. I'll give you an answer, but you may not like it.
Okay.
Why did I stop? Would you believe love?
You were never married.
Saith the internet, no doubt. Likely the same Wikipedia article that claims I was in a porn movie but had all the prints destroyed.
So it's true? You were married.
Indeed.
Any children?
One of them was, yes. I'm sorry, it's an old joke. I couldn't resist. Yes, I was married. Once. I know, it's one for Ripley's. Better sit down before you fall down. I told myself sometimes on the way to our dreams we get lost and find something better. I was married for 217 days. Oh, I cannot abide the sort of useless people who know that kind of exact fact about their own lives, but there it is. We met on a cruise to Nassau. It was a couple of years after Noonies came out. She didn't know who I was. It was wonderful.
She didn't know who you were? Was she a nun? Or was she in a coma?
Sometimes as writers we succumb to the wonderful illusion that just because our work is successful, everyone knows who we are. She was educated, articulate, brilliant, loving, and just phenomenally beautiful. But she did not read the New York Times bestseller list, so she never heard of me or my book. And yet that made it all the more special.
So she loved you for you and not your fame.
It's better to be loved for who you are than for what you do. That love endures. Or should. We were inseparable from the minute we met and married 4 days later.
4 days?
Impulsive young man I was.
I know I should...
We were lovers and partners in narcissistic obsession, spending all our time staring deep into each other's eyes, lost in thought and infatuation, while everyone around us just wanted us to shut up and order dinner. We knew marriage could be difficult, the same way we knew there were starving children in Africa. It was a tragic fact, but worlds away from our reality. When I look back on it now and think how little time we had, how naive we were, how clueless about the whims of destiny, I want to find that cocky young boy with the arrogant love and the constant erection and kick him in the balls.
She died.
She died. A car accident in the Bahamas. It was a long time ago. 26 years. 26 years to the day. So, happy birthday. I'll tell you the pain fades, but no, it dulls. But the hurt is still there. At your age, I can't imagine you'd understand.
It's been 6 days since Andrea died. Sisters can be close, but she was my best friend. She was the one who showed me your book in the bookstore, the one who made me a reader and by extension a writer. A drunk driver mowed her down a week before her wedding, right in front of me. So yes, Mr. Perrin. Yes, I understand. I understand what it's like to live on when someone you love with all of your heart is gone. I understand what it's like to feel raw, undiluted pain. I understand what it's like to have your heart ripped from your body. And with all due respect to somebody that I have wanted to meet since I was a teenager, do not dare to assume what I can and cannot understand. You may be a fantastic writer, but you are also a pompous ass. You wrote the book about connection. It's what you're famous for. It's ridiculous that you have locked yourself away, unable to make a single decent human connection for decades. I may not have a Pulitzer Prize or a desk with cat scratches on it, but at least I know that you can't write about life when you're afraid to live it.
Forgive an old man, child. I spent too many years nursing my grief in private.
You're forgiven. But after her death, you couldn't write? I mean, not even about the pain, the sadness? I thought of all people that you could tell me
No,
about.
it was no good. Even looking at a keyboard made me feel ill. It just seemed senseless.
You didn't blame yourself.
For a long time, I self-diagnosed and self-medicated. After a few years, I thought maybe I was ready to start again. I sat down at the keyboard, and I sat, and I stared. Douglas Adams said writing is easy. You just stare at the screen until drops of blood pop out on your forehead. He was wrong. It's not that easy.
It's almost too funny to believe Patrick Perrin had writer's block.
And I almost wrote a book about writer's block. I had dozens of adorable little anecdotes about not writing. Ironically enough, none of them could help me write. And then the premise was so charming it made me want to puke.
So you could write after your wife's
It
death.
was awful, not worth speaking of, let alone reading.
You know, Victor Hugo used to work by having his servant take away his clothes with instructions not to return for several hours. Left naked with pen and paper, there was nothing he could do but sit down and write.
I don't have a servant. And if he felt the draft in here, no. And then there's the Siamese cat with claws. No way. You said reading my book made you want to be a writer. What have you done to further that goal?
Well, I started taking creative writing classes in high school as soon as they were offered. I read a lot. That's what they say, right? Readers make better writers. I mean, from the very beginning, it was my sister who pushed me down the rabbit hole. I crawled through hell on Dante's back. I battled seas with Homer. I walked through Mordor with Tolkien. I did a far, far better thing with Dickens. But my school didn't offer a degree in creative writing, so since my parents paid for my tuition, I majored in English. But I took a bunch of creative writing classes. I worked as a tutor in the writing center.
Yes, but do you write? Not those scribblings on paper you described, but do you put your words out there to affect the world?
Well, yes, for the school paper, a bunch of short stories, like I said, part of a novel, but I haven't finished it yet.
Young lady, that's all well and good, and I'm not one to discourage you from expanding your vocabulary or writing a spotlight story on a 5 Kappa bake sale, but do you write? Do you sit down at the keyboard or with a pad and pencil every night and pour your soul into your words? Use the talents you've been given to affect the world, to make contact with other humans.
Well, yes, but I'm not ready for that yet.
Nonsense! How do you know till you try? I wasn't much older than you when I wrote my best work. You might have a lot to offer.
That part you said about touching the lives of others, I mean, you did that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could. It's my dream, and it scares me.
If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. You just suffered an enormous loss. And 6 days later, you go off to seek the unseekable man. In spite of everything you'd heard, everything you'd seen, the signs in my driveway, you needed an answer.
Well, I don't know, Okay, can I tell you what happened? Maybe saying this out loud will help my brain process it. You know, we're well past our 5 minutes.
I've given you a 5-minute extension on your deadline, Miss Weinsack. Pray continue.
Okay. After the funeral, I just felt lost. Being back home, I felt so disconnected from my family, from everyone. Losing Andrea was like I lost my anchor to the world. So I was driving around yesterday aimlessly, no direction, no reason. I stopped at a Burger King to get an iced coffee, and when I was waiting for my order, this woman came in with her son. He had to be, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. His name was Trevor. I remember that now. She kept calling his name. Trevor, what do you want to eat? Trevor, do you want a toy? Trevor, get off the counter. Trevor, please come stand here. She had on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and I just kept thinking that my sister would have thought she was cute. She ordered a kid's meal and asked them to cut the cheeseburger in half. And I thought, how much struggle must there be in her life for her to have to split a $1 cheeseburger with her son? And it was then that I realized she had this haunting, beautiful, sad look in her eyes. I've never seen anything like it. It just stopped me dead. I just couldn't figure out what her expression was. It wasn't upset or sad, but that look. I thought about it for hours later, and then I realized that it wasn't conflict or frustration, but this exhausted sense of resignation. But that moment, right there, I should have said something, done something. I should have offered to pay for her meal or just say hello, just to make her smile, just to somehow let her know that everything was going to be all right, even though I had no idea whether that was even remotely true. It all passed before my brain could contain any of it, and I realized that I was desperate for an answer, longing for confirmation that tomorrow would be a better day for her and Trevor, that at the end of her days somebody would be there to give her a hug and let her know that everything was going to be all right, that Trevor would get to enjoy the cheeseburger and eat another one, cut in half, of course. So I got in my car and I turned at the next light and got on the interstate. Here. I did a paper on you for class last month. Everybody has always said for decades that you don't like visitors, that it's respectful to, well, respect your privacy. But all that I kept thinking about was how to do what you did, how to affect others through your writing. I kept thinking, if only I could write as good as you. Hell, if only I could write 1/10 as good as you, I might be able to make things better for someone. Like Noonies did for me. Like what I wish that I could do for Trevor and his mother. To live up to the path, the promise that my sister would have wanted for me. Is that crazy? Am I insane?
No, but it's a good start. My turn. And you better get comfy. You've read my stuff. You know I can be verbose. When I was 20, I was living in my car in California, which is practically redundant. Small town called Dixon. I had an execrable job that didn't pay me enough to afford even a slovenly little apartment. Even eating nothing but junk food, I couldn't save a dime. And I was in debt to people no one should owe money to. I had to spend most of my money on gasoline because every night I had to drive dozens of miles to find a safe place to park, someplace I could sleep without the police disturbing me, where I wouldn't be robbed or killed or kidnapped. So one night I'm driving around looking for my safe spot, and the car starts to sound wrong. As the energy seeped from my mobile bedroom, I drove toward town just in case, and then the transmission went. I pushed the car into a vacant lot between a Dairy Queen and a mechanic shop. Next morning, I asked the man if I could leave the car parked there until I'd scraped together enough to get it fixed. He said, fine. I couldn't tell him I was living in it. I was too embarrassed. So for the next 7 days, I had to wake up extra early to be out of the car before he got there. After a week of doing every chore and odd job I could find and eating nothing but ramen, I had maybe a quarter of what it would cost to get the car fixed. Then one morning, I overslept and woke to find the owner and his wife standing 10 feet away, watching me through the windshield. I was mortified. Thought they were going to call the police. They told me to go into the office. Barbara, the wife's name was Barbara, she brought me a donut. Maybe it was a cruller. Been a long time. They sat me down and said that they'd fix my car for me. That they'd ordered the parts and were going to do the labor for free. You have to understand, I'd been living alone for a long time and I'd cultivated this persona, this image of Mr. Tough Guy. I started bawling my eyes out. For 10 minutes I couldn't stop. I found out later it cost them close to $2,500 to buy and install that new transmission. I never forgot them.
Barbara. Was her husband Glenn?
Glenn, yes.
As in...
Yes, I named Ben's parents after them in the book. And Ben and Elizabeth's journey began in that parking lot, and the car that Ben drove in the book is the same one I drove, and my Pulitzer Prize was born of a suicidal transmission. I've had a successful life, I've done a little traveling, never had to worry about money again. I paid them back when the book did well. But after being in such desperate straits, I shall always remember the nice old couple who fixed my car for me. That's what being human is. We're all connected. And the actions we make have lasting effects that spread out like a ripple on the waters of the world. And every good thing we do for others comes back to us. That's what I was trying to say in my book. And it's why you should write. To make contact with humanity.
But it still doesn't make sense. You were the best, at the top of your game. Why did you stop?
26 years to the day. Miss Winesaft, have you ever seen a movie called The Hustler?
No. It's not a porn, is it?
No, it's not. It's a classic. Came out in 1961, directed by Robert Rossen, starring Jackie Gleason.
What's it about?
Short version or long version? All right, short version. It's about a pool shark named Fast Eddie Filson. Played by Paul Newman. See, Fast Eddie...
Oh, Paul Newman.
Yeah.
The salad dressing guy.
What?
I'm kidding, Mr. Perrin. Of course I know who Paul Newman is.
Fast Eddie is brilliant, but he's also a pain in the ass. He can smooth talk his way out of anything. He thinks he can sucker anyone, and he's right, he likely can. His brilliance is pool. He plays the game the way Elmore Leonard could write dialogue, the way Margaret Atwood could create images out of words, the way Hemingway could, well, let's just say he's a step above. Sidney Carroll wrote the screenplay, and Newman was marvelous. It could be a marvelous role and a career of marvelous roles. Fast Eddie believes that being the best is too simple, too limiting. He wants to be able to do things nobody else has ever done before. For him it was pool. For me, that's why I stopped. Because as good as I was, I knew I'd never be that good. To be so good you could do things nobody else had ever done before. I saw it once, that weekend, the one I did, the whole first draft at Nooney's in one long session. I thought I could get there again. I never could. I wish I had my own person from Porlock to blame, but I'm not. It never happened, and it's all my fault.
Wait, Mr. Perrin, sir, you wrote one of the greatest pieces of fiction in modern... I mean, it was a hard act to follow.
A great American novel, eh?
Well, yes, but you put way, way too hard a challenge on yourself.
Why not? As writers, as artists, shouldn't we seek to be the best?
Well, yes, but to set the bar so high, I mean, to deprive the world of your... just because it... I mean, even Shakespeare had Titus Andronicus. They can't all be classics.
Touche, young grasshopper. Before your time.
You can write again.
It's hard.
If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it.
You are a writer, Miss Whiteside.
I can't handle the idea that somebody with ideas like yours won't ever write again. Please tell me you want to try again. Tell me the truth.
As I mentioned, it's not that I haven't written. It's that I couldn't live up to the bar I set for myself.
So you have written something? What is it? A novel? A short story?
I've written many things that have never left this room. This is one of them.
Is that your editor's address?
Used to be. She moved years ago. I never sent it in. I was too scared.
So, is it short stories? A novel?
It's a novel. And it's wonderful. Or it's garbage, I really can't remember. The first thing any writer's ever told is, write what you...
No.
So I wrote what I knew. If Nunes was about finding love and accepting compassion, this was about finding solitude and accepting limitations. On and off for years, nobody has seen a word. Perhaps it's time to let it go. Stop pretending my grief is unique.
I know this is really presumptuous.
I believe I need a proofreader. Are you available?
Yes, of course, I'd be honored. What's it called?
I never actually decided. Perhaps you could help.
On one condition.
What now?
I want you to read what I've written. Help me become a better writer. I won't tell anybody, let you keep your privacy, but maybe I can be that connection for you, the first one in a long time.
You said you didn't have it with you.
I lie.
Beginning to think you might be a formidable opponent in the game of poker, Miss Whiteside. I accept your terms. Have we a deal?
Yes.
I think your sister would approve.
You spelled accommodate wrong.
And your keep already.
Untitled by Patrick Perrin.
Searching for the Moment by Harper Winesaft. Chapter 1.